Throughout the years of playing Mario, I've noticed that the franchise has a lot of misconceptions over the years. Some of them are popular, while others are lesser known. So in this video, we'll be covering 10 misconceptions surrounding the Mario franchise. And if you did happen to believe any of those misconceptions, let me know which ones you fell for. But if you disagree or don't believe me, that's perfectly fine. Please note that I'm only debunking these rumors with evidence I could find, and certainly not you as a person. This list is in no particular order, so let's start off with the first few misconceptions based on the first Mario game, Donkey Kong. Number 1. Nintendo couldn't use Popeye due to licensing issues. Now, everyone knows that Donkey Kong in its early stages was planned to be a licensed Popeye game. Many videos discussing the history of Mario or Donkey Kong have claimed that licensing issues prevented Nintendo from using the Popeye IP.
Mamoto wanted to create a platform game based on the beloved Popeye cartoons, though initial attempts to gain the rights were unsuccessful.
The arcade game Donkey Kong initially planned to use Popeye as the protagonist, but when the licensing deal fell through, Nintendo altered the sprite.
Nintendo lost the rights to Popeye, and Miyamoto couldn't make his Popeye game.
Now, the biggest source for this would be in a Iwata Asks interview with the game's director and designer, Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto has stated that Nintendo was a licensee for Popeye, making playing cards and Game & Watch titles for the IP. So if Nintendo was able to release Popeye products, then why couldn't they use Popeye in their new arcade game? You could argue that they might have lost the license, but no, they later came out with a Popeye arcade game in 1982, one that was completely unrelated to Donkey Kong. So it couldn't be a licensing issue if they were able to release all this stuff. In fact, I think the reason people think it was a licensing issue was with the quote from Miyamoto in the interview. But while I can't recall exactly why it was, we were unable to use Popeye in that title. It seems like most people probably have misheard the quote, making them believe that they were not allowed to use Popeye in that title, when only he said that they just didn't use Popeye in that game for reasons he couldn't remember. So if it wasn't a licensing issue, then what was it? On Twitter, Norman Caruso of gaming historian fame posted in early 2020 that he went to the National Archives to scan some court documents on the infamous Universal vs. Nintendo court case. In a deposition of the game's producer, Gunpei Yokoi, it stated that the reason why Popeye was abandoned was because of technological reasons, stating that in those days we could not depict or draw the character of Popeye using the circuit in those days properly. I personally think this reason makes way more sense than licensing issues, because not only did Nintendo still have the Popeye license at the time, but I just can't imagine Popeye's sprite in the final game would have looked nearly exactly like the character. Because for one thing, Popeye is a tall character with a very unique face design. There just would be no way he would translate well in a sprite this small. In fact, the reason why Mario was even designed the way he is was thanks to technical limitations. And like I said earlier, Nintendo did eventually release a Popeye arcade game later on, and the character sprites on that game captured the likenesses very well thanks to them being much larger than the sprites from Donkey Kong. So the next time you see a Mario or Donkey Kong history video saying that licensing issues prevented Nintendo from using Popeye, make sure they are corrected for this mistake. Now, we're not done with Donkey Kong just yet, as there are a few more misconceptions surrounding the game, such as... Number 2. The use of the name Jumpman. When Mario was created, he was given the nickname Osan, which means middle-aged man in Japanese.
Middle-aged man. Middle-aged man.
Miyamoto has also gone on record saying that he once gave him the name Mr. Video. However, the misconception surrounding Mario's name origin would be in the name Jumpman, the name most people are familiar with when it comes to early Mario names. In the US cabinet for Donkey Kong, Mario is referred to as Jumpman in its instructions. However, it is somewhat believed that Jumpman was Mario's original name before the release of Donkey Kong Jr. However, the Jumpman name seems to have only been used on the US games' instructions. A few licensed stickers from 1982 also technically used the Jumpman name, however it's treated more like a nickname than an actual name. In Japan, Mario was simply known as the player in its Japanese instructions, and in the story presented on the game's US flyer, it features the first public usage of the name Mario. Foreboding music warns of the eventful doom that awaits the poor girl, lest she somehow be miraculously rescued. But wait, fear not, fair maiden, little Mario, the carpenter, is in hot pursuit of you at this very moment. Most people like to refer to Mario from the Donkey Kong era as Jumpman. However, he's always been referred to as Mario as early as the game's official US release, and the release of Donkey Kong Jr. in 1982 would finally confirm the character's name as Mario. To learn more about the history of Mario's name, I highly recommend watching the gaming historian video called How the Mario Characters Got Their Names. It's an excellent video overall, and I highly recommend you go subscribe to the channel. Number 3. Peter Cullen was Mario's first voice actor. The Saturday morning Pac-Man series produced by Hanna-Barbera for ABC was doing really well, so Ruby Spears Production produced their own Saturday morning cartoon for CBS, which was also based on a video game. Actually, it wasn't a video game. It was multiple video games. Saturday Supercade aired in late 1983 to late 1984, and its episodes included different segments starring different arcade characters, such as Q*bert, Frogger, and even Donkey Kong. Peter Cullen is a very famous and legendary voice actor who has done multiple voice work throughout the 80s, including the famous Transformers character, Optimus Prime. In Saturday Supercade, he voiced Mario, a circus owner trying to catch the escaped Donkey Kong with the help of his partner Pauline.
He's got Pauline! Look out above, big guy, cause here comes Mario!
Because he voiced Mario in Saturday Supercade, a lot of folks often credit him as Mario's first ever voice actor. I went with my dad to the FanX convention back in 2021, where we went to see a panel with Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. It was a great panel, and ended our trip to the convention on a high note. However, the panel's moderator, as he was introducing the two actors, made the mistake of crediting Peter as the first actor to have ever voiced Mario.
And, this may surprise you, who was the first person that voiced Mario from Nintendo in the Western Hemisphere? That would be Mr. Peter Cullen.
Because the truth is, Peter was not the first to have voiced Mario. That honor would go to Larry Moran, who voiced Mario in the Donkey Kong cereal commercials.
Kids, I'm gonna jump, you're gonna crunch. Here we go.
Donkey Kong!
More crunch.
Donkey Kong cereal!
Happy Larry, Donkey Kong.
There was also Harris Shore, who played a live-action version of Mario in commercials for the console releases of Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr.
You're not gonna stop me, you stupid ape!
Play Donkey Kong on your ColecoVision, Atari VCS, or Intellivision video game system.
Don't worry, darling! I'll save you!
Those commercials were set to have aired around late 1982, predating the premiere of Saturday Supercade by about a year. That's pretty much it when it comes to misconceptions from the Donkey Kong era, so let's start talking about some other misconceptions from other Mario games. Number 4. Luigi first appeared in the Mario Bros. Arcade game. There have been a lot of rumors and urban legends going around when it comes to where Luigi came from, such as myths about Luigi being named after a pizza parlor. For many years, fans believed that Luigi first appeared in the Mario Bros. Arcade game. Even late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata claimed that to be the case in a Nintendo Direct. However, despite Luigi being created with the Mario Bros. Arcade game in mind, his actual debut was in the Mario Bros. Game & Watch, which predates the Mario Bros. Arcade game by 3 months. Number 5. The Breakable Breaks in Super Mario Bros. Are toads. In the story of Super Mario Bros., in addition to capturing Princess Peach, Bowser also turned the toads into stones and bricks. This part of the story comes from the game's instruction manual. Because of the mention of toads being turned into bricks, a lot of gamers thought that the breakable bricks that Mario and Luigi can hit were transformed toads that you unintentionally murdered.
But think about what you actually do as Mario in the game. Shatter hundreds of brick blocks. You unwittingly massacred hundreds of innocent toads.
However, later on in the manual, it says that the toads who have been turned into bricks will reward you by giving you a power boost, meaning that the breakable bricks are not transformed toads, but rather question mark blocks, hidden blocks, or any other block that can give you a power up, and those cannot be broken. Granted, Mario has been shown to be breaking those types of blocks later on in games like New Super Mario Bros. With the Mega Mushroom power up, however, those ones are most likely not transformed toads, as Super Mario Bros. Is the only game where Bowser has been known to transform the toads. Not only that, but in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, when Toad is trapped in a question mark block, simply hitting it will free them. So yeah, so no toads were harmed during the events of Super Mario Bros. Case closed. Number 6. The origin of Larry Koopa's name. The Koopalings made their first appearance in Super Mario Bros. 3, however, each Koopaling didn't have their own unique name at the time. So when it was time to release the game outside of Japan, former Nintendo of America employee Dave Brooks gave all 7 Koopalings unique names. Brooks has gone on record to say that Larry Koopa was named after U2 drummer Larry Mullen Jr., which makes sense as most of the Koopalings were named after musicians. This caused gamers to believe that to be the case. However, in an interview with Totaku in 2015, Brooks completely contradicted his claim, stating there's no real-world equivalent. He's not Larry Mullen Jr. from U2 or Larry King, he just looked like a Larry. So overall, Larry is actually the only Koopaling not named after any person, not even a musician. But I do agree with Brooks though, he does look like a Larry. Number 7. Daisy and Wario were created by Gunpei Yokoi. Gunpei Yokoi is one of the most influential people in not just Nintendo, but gaming as a whole. He was the man responsible for managing Nintendo's now defunct Research and Development 1 department all the way up until his departure. He was known best for inventing toys for Nintendo back in the 60s, as well as inventing the Game & Watch series of systems, but one product he is known the best for would have to be the Game Boy. Since the Game Boy was developed by R&D 1, a lot of its first-party software at launch was also developed by them, including Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land 2, The 6 Golden Coins, would launch a few years later. Because Yokoi was often credited as being the creator for a lot of R&D 1 produced characters and franchises, this caused fans to credit him as the creator of both Princess Daisy from Super Mario Land and Wario from Super Mario Land 2. Despite this, Gunpei Yokoi was never credited as a character designer in any of the games he's worked on. Not only that, but there have been no evidence from any former R&D 1 staff that said he created any characters for its games. Wario is an easy character debunked as a Yokoi creation, as Hiroji Kiyotake is Wario's true character designer. Not only is Kiyotake the director and graphic designer on Super Mario Land 2, not only is he credited as Wario's original designer in the WarioWare games, but he's also confirmed to be Wario's creator in Nintendo Dream magazine. As for Daisy, it's not known who her actual creator is. However, it's likely that she was created by either Satoru Okada, Super Mario Land's director, or Hirofumi Matsuko, one of Super Mario Land's graphic designers. So overall, Daisy was most likely created by Satoru Okada, while Wario was created by Hiroji Kiyotake, not Gunpei Yokoi. Moving on. Number 8. Shigeru Miyamoto hates Donkey Kong Country. There's a famous book that came out in the early 2000s titled The Ultimate History of Video Games by Stephen Kent. At some point in the book, he talks about a supposed interview with Shigeru Miyamoto from a May 1995 issue of Electronic Games. In that interview, Miyamoto was allegedly quoted by saying that Donkey Kong Country proves that players will put up with mediocre gameplay as long as the art is good. This led people into thinking that he hates the Donkey Kong Country series. However, if you read the May 1995 issue yourself, the supposed quote from Miyamoto is nowhere to be found anywhere in the magazine. Not only that, but during the announcement of Donkey Kong Country Returns at E3 2010, IGN interviewed Miyamoto, in which he denied those rumors of ever hating Donkey Kong Country. Recently, some rumor got out that I didn't really like that game. I just want to clarify that that's not the case, because I was very involved in the game's production. Just like the claim that Miyamoto dislikes story, the claim that Miyamoto dislikes Donkey Kong Country is simply pure fabrication. Not only did he say he was very involved in the game's development, but he has never, ever have once said the mediocre gameplay quote in the Electronic Games issue. It's possible that it's either something that Stephen Kent probably might have misremembered, or something he made up just to trigger people. Who knows? Number 9. The Blue and Yellow Toad's names are Buckenberry and Ala Gold. An article by Jonathan Holmes was posted on Destructoid. The article has the author describing his experience with a new Super Mario Bros. Wii event that took place at Nintendo New York. The article ends with him claiming to have talked with a Nintendo rep about the names of the playable toads in that game, Blue Toad and Yellow Toad. And here's what he wrote. Of course, I asked what the nicknames were. He told me to turn the camera off. Then, with an extremely serious face, he whispered in my ear, "The yellow one is called Ala Gold, and the blue one is named Buckenberry." Now, I don't know if this guy knows what he's talking about or not, but I don't care. From now on, the yellow toad is Ala Gold, and the blue toad is Buckenberry. Case closed. Yeah, I'm not really buying it. The reason is because there is zero evidence to support that these names are official, or were ever used during New Super Mario Bros. Wii's development. There is also no documentation of Holmes' experience at the event, nor is there any way to prove the legitimacy of this conversation. Heck, I bet that Nintendo rep was probably just kidding around, and that Holmes took his joke way too seriously. Besides, in my brutally honest opinion, I think Buckenberry and Ala Gold are terrible names for these toads. Like, why Ala Gold for Yellow Toad? He's yellow, not gold. So overall, the Buckenberry and Ala Gold names seem completely made up, as there is no real evidence to support that these names were ever used during development. And finally, number 10. Genie Elias' voice cameo in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I went to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie the day it came out, and I loved it so much. However, it hasn't stopped the movie from having its own rumors and misconceptions. During the promotion of the movie, the Mario Bros. Plumbing website was created, which included a commercial. The fictitious commercial was also used in the movie itself. However, the misconception arises when discussing the woman in the commercial. I've heard many times that the woman in the commercial was voiced by Genie Elias, the voice of Princess Toadstool from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. The earliest source of the rumor that I could find was from an unsourced tweet from the user Crazy Ass Moments in Nintendo History. At first, I took it as fact since it was coveted by many news outlets. And it also made sense at the time. Not only did the Mario Bros. Plumbing rap from the Super Show play in the commercial, but even the woman's voice sounded like Princess Toadstool from the show.
Thank you, Super Mario Bros. It seems like the only thing you haven't drained is my bank account.
However, there are some bumps to this claim. For one thing, Genie's name is nowhere to be found in the film's credits, though you could argue that maybe it was just an uncredited role. Nope. On Twitter, voice actor Jessica DeChico confirmed that she was the voice of the woman in the Mario Bros. Plumbing commercial. Jessica did some additional voice work in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so it's no surprise that she was confirmed to be the voice of the woman. So yeah, don't listen to any news outlets or fact videos that say that Genie Elias did a voice cameo in the movie, because the truth is, she was never in the movie to begin with. So that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know if you had believed in any of those rumors, and hopefully this video will spread awareness to these misconceptions in hopes that no one will make the same mistakes that countless other YouTubers have. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you do, make sure to ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of the videos I make. I'll see you real soon!